Good morning. Good morning. I'm your host, Kiana Canada. Welcome back to the Kiana Canada Show. There is a lot that we are going to get into this morning. We're going to be talking about have solicitors become devil's advocate? And we know what that means, right? So we'll be getting into that later today. We're going to be speaking about a letter that allegedly came from NISOS that I received this morning, uh, what I'm reading, and a lot more. Welcome back. Ladies and gentlemen, before we get into today's episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Remember, your likes and your shares, what it does is it pushes videos like this up in the algorithm. It tells the algorithm that videos like this are important. But we must be reminded that just because videos like this are not pushed up in the algorithm, that does not mean that videos like this are not important. There is a lot that I want to talk about today. To reiterate, this video is really extemporaneous. I haven't done much preparation for this video, but I want to first start off with a letter that allegedly came from NISOS, which is a cybersecurity and threat intelligence firm operating in Belfast, Northern Ireland. So, if you've been following my series, Mimicking McCarthyism, you understand that in one of the episodes, I have named NISOS, the Police Service of Northern Ireland, and also uh, the Northern Ireland Human Rights Commission. And and within this episode, I have called on all three parties to release any information that they have collected or received from a third party. Now, as you know, this is connected to my education at Queen's University Belfast, where I ended my contract because there was extensive intimidation on the campus, and I believe that there was somebody uh, working behind the scenes to push me off the campus because I sought to write my dissertation on transnational oppression. And we'll be getting into that in episode 15 of Mimicking McCarthyism. And so I sent a letter to uh, NISOS, to the Police Service of Northern Ireland, and also the Northern Ireland Human Rights Commission. And you may say, well, Kiana, why did you choose these three organizations and institutions? Well, the Northern Ireland Human Rights Commission, the reason why I chose the Northern Ireland Human Rights Commission is because I believe that they went against their mandate. And I also believe that they were persuaded to go against their mandate because a third party convinced them not to represent me. And so my inquiries really revolve around that, whether Northern Ireland Human Rights Commission has received any information from a third party instructing them not to represent me, and why. To reiterate, if you've been watching the Mimicking McCarthyism series, you understand that under the Paris Principles, especially here in Northern Ireland, who is a party to the 1951 Convention, they're also a party to the ICCPR, the CERD. They're a party to multiple conventions and treaties from the United Nations. Of course, this jurisdiction is. And it just is not computing to me that the Northern Ireland Human Rights Commission would not choose to take on a case that is clearly, that's based in evidence and demonstrates serious human rights violations. And to reiterate, as I describe in Mimicking McCarthyism, is that under the Paris Principles, human rights institutions like the Northern Ireland Human Rights Commission, their mandate is supposed to be broad. And it appeared as if the Northern Ireland Human Rights shrank its mandate. And I want to know why that is. So, why did I choose the Police Service of Northern Ireland? Well, there is evidence that the Police Service of Northern Ireland has engaged in intimidation of journalists here in Northern Ireland. Of course, remember, there were 8 journalists that were unlawfully surveilled. Of the 8, 2 went on to publish a documentary about being unlawfully surveilled by the Police Service of Northern Ireland. So I am a independent journalist here in Northern Ireland. I am looking into a state practice known as transnational repression that I've experienced myself, and I'm pretty sure other persons have experienced as well. Some people have not survived this practice. And it only makes sense. The evidence is leading to the Police Service of Northern Ireland engaging in intimidating practices such as surveillance to stop me from being able to speak out about what I know that happened in the jurisdiction of the Republic of Ireland and this jurisdiction. Now, you may say, well, Kiana, well, these are 2 separate jurisdictions. Yes, they are. But Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland are 2 countries that are closely tied together. And it dates back to the conflict that has happened. There are many Irish people in Northern Ireland that want a united Ireland. And it only makes sense for influences from the Republic of Ireland to transfer over to Northern Ireland. And I'm pretty sure it's been that way for quite some time because these countries are connected. And that is not a, I'm not saying that with any animosity and not looking down upon that. I understand that these 2 countries want there to be a united Ireland. My reasoning for believing that this is the Police Service of Northern Ireland is that those possibly connected to intelligence, or these persons, whoever they are, this first started in the Republic of Ireland. So keep in mind, I didn't experience this in Spain. I did not experience this kind of intimidation in Sweden. I didn't even experience this kind of intimidation in Canada. This started in the Republic of Ireland after I published an article in the Jurist on direct provision. There were some traces of this happening before then, which leads me to believe that this is an Irish American practice. And we talk about that in the Mimicking McCarthyism series. So if you haven't had an opportunity to watch that series, I would hope that you will look at it and review it. In one series, which is 14A, I really apologize. Like, my lips were very chapped. I've been dehydrated because it's wintertime, and like my lips were very chapped, and I didn't have time to look for chapstick, and I recorded that video late at night, and the lighting was horrible, and I just really want to apologize, but I just really wanted to get that information out. To NISOS. So NISOS, to reiterate, is a threat intelligence firm, a cybersecurity firm. It operates here in Northern Ireland, Belfast. It has offices here. It's weird because there's one location where NISOS is situated. And at that location, which is a very swanky, nice building, a very expensive building. I believe that NISOS still works in that building. But then there is another building, excuse me, there's another building that has NISOS, its name on the window, and it's a shared building with Enzo, which is a firm that it's kind of like, how did they describe it to me? A recruitment firm where they are hiring people, uh, cyber operatives, people who have cyber or information technology specialists, and they outsource those people to places like NISOS and other places. And so, ladies and gentlemen, uh, that place, I don't think that NISOS is in that building. I don't know if this is a Potemkin building that is claiming to be where NISOS is at. I think that NISOS is still in this other swanky building that Sam McBride has spoken about in his piece. Now, what led me on this journey to uncovering whether NISOS was involved in my persecution was because of Sam McBride's article. Now, I read Sam McBride's article months ago, and at first I was like, okay, well, I don't think that this could possibly be NISOS. In the articles, there's allegations from, I think, an M15 or MI5 officer that alleges that NISOS wanted it to engage in unethical surveillance activities. And when that person declined to do so, I think that this MI15 or MI5 or M15 officer made allegations that they were being intimidated by NISOS. Whether or not that's true, I'm not sure. I went to the Belfast Telegraph to have a discussion about the findings of that officer. Howsoever, I was told that Sam McBride was not available. If you are watching this, Sam McBride, I would want to have a conversation with you about whether or not those allegations are sufficient and what you heard, what you know about whether there is intimidating surveillance practices operating in Northern Ireland. And so, to reiterate, I needed to cover all my bases to make sure that whoever is engaging in this intimidating practice, that they are the proper persons to be named. And the only way that you can do that is by casting your net wide, right? And to the appropriate persons and engaging in constructive dialogue is which I sought to do. And not only did I seek to do that, but I sent correspondence because I want the proper people to be named. And if people aren't, if improper people are named, then that can create a conflict, right? And so, like, I don't want to make allegations against any firm or organization that are unfounded. Like, I want to get at the root cause and I want to get at the truth behind who is behind this intimidating practice. And ladies and gentlemen, this is my honest opinion. This is my honest opinion, and so take from it what you will. I still believe that this is an Irish American practice, that this is a collusion between Irish American intelligence apparatuses coming together to play good cop, bad cop. And what do I mean by that? I think that Ireland works as the bad cop, doing all the intimidation on the soil of its nation to push Americans out of the country on the United States' behalf. So, for example, Ireland will engage in so many intimidating practices on behalf of the United States. This is my personal opinion, my honest opinion, that American will feel as if it's not worth staying in Ireland and will seek to return back to the United States, and then the American will turn to the United States, and then the United States government will have greater access to that American and can intimidate them further. So, good cop, bad cop also works where there is making the host country feel like it's unlivable for the American asylum seeker. And right now, it's making it appear as if there's freedom of speech in the United States, that there are protections in the United States. Everything is going great in the United States, but we know that that is all a facade. This is only available for certain people. And by them playing good cop, bad cop is not going to make an American like myself, who understand these practices very clearly, seek to return to the United States. Now, onto that letter. I received a letter this morning that alleges that it came from NISOS. I am 50% skeptical of this letter simply because it didn't come from the general counsel, which is Jennifer DeTrani. It didn't come from a person from NISOS. This looked like anybody could have written it and sent it out. There's really not any indication that this has come from NISOS themselves. And to reiterate, yesterday I sent NISOS a letter, and in that letter I said, I really would like to have a conversation with you about what I believe to be an overreach of surveillance capacities. Now, if you're not involved, then I would be happy to rule you out. I really want to rule out as many people as possible. I really do want to do that. Like, I don't want to be going up against a throng of people, like I don't want to be going up against this institution, this firm. No, I want to narrow it down to the appropriate persons. And the only way to really do that is to get at the root cause, and that is through constructive dialogue. And that is something I really wanted to have with NISOS. And before I submitted that letter to NISOS yesterday, what I did was I went to their firm, I went to their solicitor's firm, which is, I believe, Tuhans, which is in Belfast City Center. And I requested to speak with a solicitor and asked if they received any communications from the Freedom of Information request. And someone allegedly told the security guard to tell me personally to leave the building. And I was like, to leave the building? That's odd. Like, this is a legitimate request. This is a legitimate request that is based on my rights, and you're telling me to leave the building. And so I said, wait a minute, I'm here and I am trying to get at the root cause, and I really want to have constructive dialogue and figure out whether or not NISOS is involved in this matter. And the security guard allegedly went upstairs and came back down, allegedly stating that he spoke to a person, and the person told them they won't be releasing any information to me and they won't be speaking with me. And I was like, okay, well, I'm leaving. And I said, well, because of that response, that does not rule NISOS out. And this morning I received correspondence that allegedly came from NISOS. And to reiterate, I am 50% skeptical of this correspondence because I don't see a person's name on this correspondence. So this could be coming from any person. This could be just coming from a person that any person could have actually copied NISOS, their logo, put it on a letterhead, and sent it to me. It looks fabricated, the letter does. But let's get into what the letter says, and we'll dissect it together. Miss Canada, NISOS Group Ltd. Is in receipt of your correspondence dated 20 October 2025. Please be assured that neither NISOS Group Ltd. Nor its parent NISOS Holding Inc., NISOS, nor any other party at NISOS' direction controls any disclosable information. Based on your manifestly public comments regarding NISOS, it appears you have somehow confused NISOS with NSO Group, a completely unrelated company in an unrelated space. No, I haven't confused NISOS with NSO Group. I perfectly understand what NISOS does. I have read Sam McBride's article. I understand that NISOS is an American firm, intelligence firm, that has connections to United States of America. And that it makes sense that NISOS would be operating on the behalf of the United States in Belfast and carrying out intelligence practices on behalf of the United States in Belfast. And so, no, I have not somehow confused NISOS with NSO Group. And by stating that, that makes me believe that NISOS is trying to signpost me to a different organization that does not exist. And this is what is peculiar about this letter, is because I believe that if NISOS was not involved in this intimidating practice, 100% not involved, it would have been open to meeting with me and having a conversation with me. And NISOS, I'm still open to having that conversation. Before I can rule you out, we really need to sit down and have a conversation. I know that you're still operating here in Belfast. I know that. Now, there are two locations, and I think I mentioned this earlier. There is one location that Sam McBride talks about that's a very swanky location. They operate in this building. I believe they still operate in that building. And then there is what I believe to be a Potemkin location that has NISOS on the window that shares office space with Enzo, which is a recruitment firm, and they hire, I believe, or they recruit information technology operatives, people with information technology skills. They recruit them and send them on jobs, and they have often done that, sent people to NISOS. And so in that building that Enzo occupies, in that building that NISOS occupies, excuse me, in that building that Enzo occupies, NISOS is not in that building. NISOS, I believe, is in this very swanky building that Sam McBride talks about. Now, whether it's switched that remains to be seen. I don't know if they used to be in that building and now they're in this very swanky one. It's unclear. Let's go ahead and move on with this letter. Based on your correspondence, you seem to be laboring under the belief that NISOS is surveilling you. NISOS is not and has not. No, I'm not laboring under the belief that NISOS has surveilled me. What I'm attempting to do is rule every party out that has not been surveilling me. That's what I'm attempting to do. And so if you haven't, then of course, as mentioned in this letter, you would just say that. And you have said that. But again, like I said, there's really no reason to 100% put faith in this letter because it's not signed by a solicitor at Two Hans. It's not signed by NISOS themselves. This could be just a person copying the letter and sending it to me. And that's what it looks like. It looks like a very fabricated letter. The only information regarding you and controlled by NISOS is subject to privilege and was only gathered after your repeated visit to NISOS offices. See, plural, offices. So NISOS, like I said, they operate two different offices. One in this swanky location that's very nice that I've visited, and then one that appears to be a Potemkin location, to determine whether or not you presented a threat to NISOS or its employees. Well, NISOS, you know I don't present a threat to you, to NISOS or its employees. You know that for sure. The real threat is the agencies, whether that's you or whether that is the police service of Northern Ireland that is participating in state crimes. And let me be frank about this. I believe that an intelligence agency put Thomas Stofiel, a Jewish American, through political repression and intimidation. We could all agree, if you review some of Thomas's videos that are uploaded on his YouTube channel, that there appears to be some concerns with the things that he talks about. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physician, so I don't have the authority to diagnose a person. That's not what I'm here to do. There are some things that Thomas Stofiel talks about in his videos that are deeply concerning that I just don't think are true. But that does not negate the veracity of other claims that he have made. Now, what I think is happening is that somebody uploaded only the negative or the they've uploaded information or excuse me, they've kept on YouTube information that makes Thomas Stofiel appear that his claims are not creditable. And so I would like to see the other information that has been taken down from Thomas Stofiel's YouTube videos or his YouTube account. Let me be clear as well. There is a lot that Thomas Stofiel talks about in his videos that I just don't agree with, and I don't think I just don't believe. So like, I don't believe that there is an Armageddon coming. That's just something I personally don't believe. And I think that when people look at that content on YouTube, it is so easy to pass judgment. And not only when you look at that content on YouTube, but then you look the fact that he was being sought out after by the Federal Bureau of Investigations, and you look at that and then you make the assumption that this person is uh, engaged in criminality, and then you look at these videos that are being there's videos on YouTube that I believe are orchestrated to frame a narrative that a person that their claims should not be trusted. And if you look at those videos, you probably might form that conclusion. And this is what bothers me about that entire operation, right? Is that we can do this to any person. We can upload videos of them at their worst. We can upload and only show videos of them at their worst and then judge them off of that. And that justifies a person's ill treatment, right? That is what appears to be happening, is that there's intelligence agencies that are selectively choosing information of people at their worst, blackmailing them, such as this McCarthyist tactic of cherry picking information to blackmail them. So if you go to Thomas Stofiel's channel, those videos, one could make the argument that this information was cherry picked to make him look unstable and to make him appear as if he should not be trusted, together with that element that he was sought out by the FBI. And this justifies the person's, to reiterate, their ill treatment. This justifies organizations and entities that they feel justified for not protecting him. It justifies not advocating on his behalf. It justifies not looking into the root cause of his unalivement. It justifies whether that unalivement was suspicious. And I will reiterate, this is what's deeply concerning to me, is that intelligence agencies are working behind the scenes to blackmail people and to make it appear as if they are bad people because of their political speech. And this allows people to be harmed further. It allows people to be re-victimized further. We need to remember that Thomas Stofiel was a asylum seeker in the Republic of Ireland. And regardless of what you think about his content, to reiterate, I will have to say that there is probably 100% of what Thomas Stofiel talks about that I disagree with. And I have to be honest that some of his videos, if not all of them, are very difficult to watch. And I think it really comes from our idea of like who is attractive, who's not attractive, who sounds intelligent, who is not intelligent, who is making sense, who the public feels is not making sense, who is creditable, who the public thinks is not creditable. Same thing that has happened to so many other people like myself, okay, well, she's not attractive, or she doesn't make sense, or she's not intelligent. It's the same thing, right? And so I sympathize, although I disagree 100% with everything he's talking about. I can empathize and sympathize with Thomas Stofiel really wanting to leave the United States and start anew in a different country. and then being judged based on whatever U.S. authorities have published to keep him from receiving the necessary protection that he was afforded under the 1951 convention. So I think that's something for all of us to think about. Okay, so what I'm reading is the series Mimicking McCarthyism is moving forward. I'll probably be uploading episode 15 later on today. I'll be working on that episode. I'm still reading this book. It's called Demagogue, The Light and Long Shadow of Senator Joseph McCarthy. It's by Larry Ty. As you see, I've been putting my notes. This has been a very informative piece. It's been something that has been enlightening. Larry Ty has done a phenomenal job of helping me, of course, in this book, understand the mechanics behind Joseph McCarthy's pugilistic campaign to attack students, journalists, human rights defenders, activists, academics, etc. There is still that I will be that I still need to read, but of course, like these of, I guess these places that you see is what I have actually relied on in my series Mimicking McCarthyism, and this is just such an interesting read. I would recommend any person, if you are looking into the McCarthyist playbook, to get Larry Ty's book, Demagogue, The Life and Long Shadow of Senator Joe McCarthy. It's by Larry Ty. Another book that I'm going to be reading soon that I checked out is Catholic Police Officers in Northern Ireland, Voices Out of Silence. Is by Mary Jenkins. I don't know, Jenkins. So I'm going to be reading this book as well. I have not started this. I just checked it out yesterday. And then this book here, which is Special and Different, The History of the Police Federation of Northern Ireland, and it's by Dawn Anderson. I checked this out yesterday as well. I'm going to be looking over this. Now, this material from these books may show up in my series. I'm not sure. I'll just have to look over and see. So that's what I'll be reading. Anything else? I still want to have a discussion with NISOS here in Northern Ireland. So NISOS, if you are watching this video, I would hope that you would set maybe a time and date, maybe sometime next week, to have a discussion with me so that we could clarify whether or not you actually wrote this letter. That would help me to understand more about what's happening in Belfast. And so my door is always open. I don't have an office, but I can meet NISOS at a coffee shop. But of course, this is a conversation that is best suited indoors and possibly within an office. And you have an office, and we can engage in a discussion. And so before I rely on this letter, so I'm 50% skeptical of this letter, and so I can't rely on it at this moment. Before I can rely on it, I really would need to know exactly the person that wrote it, and I need the name of a person. So for example, if I met with someone at your firm and your firm told me specifically, a person at your firm said that you're not engaged in this activity, then I'm comfortable with that. And that, I think, clarifies the issue for me. And that's enough that I need to know. But this letter, because it's not signed, there's not a person's name on it. So Jennifer DeTraney, who is the general counsel at NISOS, because she didn't sign it, because the CEO didn't sign it, or because some entity or person, some person or personnel at NISOS didn't sign the letter, it could come from any person. And so I am 50% skeptical of this letter, and I still will be moving forward with the claims that I'm making about human rights violations. And so I still want to have a conversation. We haven't had a conversation as of yet. If you're open to having a discussion about this, I think could take 5 minutes. You just set an appointment. You have me come to your office and you tell me that you did write the letter and that you're not involved, and I leave. That's like less than 5 minutes. And that clarifies the issue for me. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.